Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. One thing that I have to say about the community of people that I have visiting my channel here is that you guys leave such awesome comments and questions when you can actually comment on my videos. So today I'm going to tackle one of the questions that I have heard over and over again, and that is homeschool co-ops, yay or nay? So right off the bat, I want to tell you that I do not have any personal experience with homeschool co-ops because for our family, the question of homeschool co-ops has always been nay. Now, I am not saying anything bad about homeschool co-ops. I know that they work wonders for a lot of homeschooling families, but since people ask me about what I think about homeschooling co-ops, I just wanted to talk to you about my thoughts on homeschool co-ops and why we as a family have not decided to join one. Well, first of all, I want to point out that when I talk about co-ops today, I'm really going to be referring to those academically based co-ops. I know that there are some co-ops that are more about field trips or more about doing, fun things together, like, art class or music class together, kind of elective sort of things. And while I have not ever joined one of those either, most of the questions that I get really are about those more academically minded co-ops. So that's really what I'm going to be talking about today. So as relaxed homeschoolers, there are a couple things that are really, really important to me as a homeschool mom. As most of you know, if you have been here before, I am not one for the schoolish method. I have come to realize that it wasn't designed in a way that is conducive for learning, not for most people. And it really isn't something that I wanted to bring home when I decided to homeschool. Because in my view, if I am bringing my kids home, why would I bring school with us? If I were going to do something that looked just like school, I would just keep my kids in school. That's, well, not anymore, not knowing what I know about education now, but those were my thoughts when I first started. Because the thing that I have noticed about a lot of homeschool co-ops is that, yes, a lot of them really do look like school, especially the bigger homeschool co-ops. They have actual full-day classes, usually once a week, where they will take several different classes, and a lot of them will use textbooks, and then they will have work that they have to bring home. And since these co-ops have so many different students, yes, it really isn't something that can be tailored to each individual child. It really is something that's going to be kind of more like a one-size-fits-all learning style. And I'm going to say it again because I know there are going to be people saying, oh, I love our homeschool co-op. I get it. I get that people love homeschool co-ops. I get that people like having that foundation for certain subjects that maybe they don't feel comfortable teaching. But again, I am talking about why we don't use it in our family. In our family, my children are very, very active. And so when it comes down to our family, that schoolish way of learning, it wouldn't work. It would not work at all. And I'm afraid that it would take the joy out of learning for my kids. Some kids are okay with learning like that. Some kids actually do well at learning like that. However, again, it just the sit-down structured learning isn't really something that I don't think my kids would be able to, they wouldn't want to learn anymore. And again, to me, one of the biggest reasons to homeschool is so that your kids find joy in learning, so that it's something that they want to do, something that they want to keep doing as they get older, and isn't something that they start to just identify with certain times of the day and certain activities. I want my kids to realize that learning is something that is happening all the time. So yeah, it's the whole structured schoolish aspect of it. That is one of the reasons that we have decided not to do a homeschool co-op. Now, in full transparency, I do want to point out that years ago, I was kind of feeling a little bit of an urge to do a homeschool co-op because I knew a bunch of people who were doing one, and I thought, okay, maybe we should try it. And I had talked to someone, and even though I was kind of feeling iffy about it, I had just taken my oldest daughter out of school. She was in school the longest, other than our oldest son, who did graduate from high school. He was homeschooled in 9th and 10th grade. And then when I burned out and sent the kids to school for 2 years, he ended up graduating from public school. But my daughter, she actually stayed in school the second longest. And she actually asked me to pull her out to homeschool her for high school. So this was when I started thinking about a co-op. I thought, well, maybe she would like this. She was an honors student, and I thought that it would help her to feel more comfortable. But when I asked her, she just kind of got this look, and she was like, no, Mom, I want you to teach me, which it really helped. It made my heart feel good. It made a mama's heart feel good to hear her say that. And I was actually kind of relieved in a way because, again, I was almost feeling guilted into doing it. Like it was something that I felt like I had to do. And looking back, I am so, so glad that we did not. So the second reason that I really have not wanted to try like an academic homeschool co-op is because, going back to that relaxed homeschooling thing, and also back to my whole nonconformist type of personality, is that I like having flexibility. I like being able to do things when we want to do them, how we want to do them, using the materials that we want to use. And I like that if they're not working for our kids, we can just change them up and start something different. And that doesn't really happen in homeschool co-ops. Most homeschool co-ops, at least the ones that I have heard of, you do have to pay for. And they want you to use certain curriculums, certain textbooks sometimes, or whatever materials they're using. They want you to, of course, you have to pay for those too, unless you get another family to let you borrow theirs. And so when one child in a co-op doesn't seem to be doing too well, a lot of times a parent is faced with, okay, I paid for this, what should I do? And I don't want to have to deal with that. I like the fact that homeschooling can be tailored to each child's individual needs. I like the fact that if something isn't working, we can toss it out and start something new. I like the fact that if my kids are getting bored with a certain topic, and if I see that they're really, really not listening anymore, we can stop learning about that topic and move on to something that would better suit their interests. So it is that whole nonconformist aspect to my personality. It is the fact that I like flexibility. I think that each child's education should be tailored specifically to them, because all kids are different. And in my house, in my family, I have seen that that is what works best for us. And honestly, that is even what has kept me from joining the lighter, the co-op light, you can call it. You know, those co-ops that are really more about electives, you know, more or field trips, you know, well, not so much field trips. Most of the times I see homeschool groups doing field trips, not really co-ops. But I will see some homeschool co-ops that will meet once a week to do like art together or music together. And while that is something that my kids might enjoy more than an academically based co-op, it is still that whole idea of, we like to do the things that we like to do. We like to choose the things that we do. And I have found that my kids retain learning best when they themselves have some stake in it, and they have had some say in what they're learning about. So anyway, that is my take on homeschool co-ops. For our family, again, it's a nay. It doesn't mean that it should be nay for every family, because again, just like every snowflake is different, every family is different. And homeschool co-ops might be a godsend for some families. But for our family, we have found that we just haven't had the desire to use one. Anyway, that's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one down below, unless YouTube disables my comments. They have most of my comments disabled right now. So until they get that settled, you can also find me over on Instagram if you would like to ask me a question. I'm there pretty often, more than I'd like to be. I will leave that link in the description box below. And also, if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave that link for you also in the description box. You can see what rewards I have for my patrons there. Like there are unit study PDFs every month. There are book lists, depending on what level of a patron you become. There are even homeschool consultations. There are exclusive videos. Anyway, check it out. I will leave that description down below. And that's all I have. I hope you have a great day.